This is the BG Sports Show, presented by Sports Radio America. I'm Bax.
And this is Sam.
It's a Thursday on the BG Sports Show, and the sports world continues to baffle Sam and I with every passing day. And here we are once again, Sam. Good morning. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I am doing better than most teams in the NFL and
really?
NBA and other folks.
Ouch. Wow. You must be having a good morning then.
I'm having a great morning, honestly.
Good.
I mean, you know why I'm having a good morning?
Why?
Because gas is under $2.
I paid $1.99 for gas yesterday.
Could not believe it.
Oh, it was great.
I lost my mind. I was driving this morning, and I saw your Facebook post yesterday, like, just paid $1.99. I'm like, all right, maybe it was one gas station. I've seen it at two different places this morning so far. I don't even need gas, but I want to stop anyway. I feel like I'm going to have to stop at least once just to say that I paid $1.99.
Yeah, and I've had family now from all over the country texting or calling me and messaging me saying, hey, well, it's $1.75 here, things like that. But like, yeah, well, you know what? Let me be happy.
Exactly.
The fact that I'm excited that it's $1.99 is a little bit sad.
Exactly.
But
Cam Fitch on Periscope says, what a time to be alive. It is true. This is America right here where we pay under $2 for gas.
Love it.
I think we were like, what, 10, 11 maybe last time it was under $2? It was Bush. Bush's first term. That's all I know.
It was pre 9/11, I believe. So
I think so.
Yeah, crazy times. What a time to be alive.
God bless America. Anyway, well, it is a great time to be alive, so that way you can listen to the BG Sports Show because, let's be honest, we're a great show, but you can't listen to us when you're dead, unfortunately. So if you do enjoy listening to us, though, you can find us right here on Spreaker.com live from 7 to 8 a.m. Central, depending on what time I get to the studio and depending on what time I get off the air. But still about 7 to 8 a.m. Central Time. You can also get us on Periscope as well, so good morning to everybody on Periscope. You guys continue to keep piling in, so great to see all of you this morning. Don't forget to check in. Tell us where you're from, what sports teams you support, and if you have any questions for us, we'll do our best to answer them on air as well. You can also find us on Sports Radio America from 11 to 1 p.m. Central Time and on demand on iTunes, iHeartRadio, and on Spreaker.com.
And you can find us on social media. We are on Facebook at The BG Sports Show, on Instagram at BG Sports Show, and then we are on Twitter as well at BG Sports Show. Baxter's at Baxter Colbert, and I am at Samuel_Wallace2.
Absolutely, yeah. It's been an interesting time in the world of football. We will have Bleacher Report's David Kenyon on with us a little bit later on to talk about the upcoming week of action. And Sam has his running segment, which prompts me to let all of you know that we will not have a show tomorrow.
What?
I know, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm going to be out of town doing some broadcasting for Sports Radio America. So you can go to sportsradioamerica.com and listen to some of the live broadcasts for the basketball games tomorrow night and Saturday. And Sam has obligations as well, so we will not have a show tomorrow. So that's why his running segment will be today. Connor Christensen will be here as well to offer his fitness tip as well. So looking forward to that. But first thing I need to talk about, Sam, right away.
Right off the bat.
If you had to think of a great team in the NFL with a great quarterback, who would you say?
A great team in the NFL with a great quarterback, I would probably have to say the New England Patriots.
Okay. Now think of a middle average road team with a good quarterback.
Middle of the road team with a good quarterback? I would say the New York Giants.
New York Giants.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, they're an average team with a good quarterback.
Eli. Yeah.
Now think of a really bad team with just literally a garbage burning trash heap of quarterbacks.
Oh, the San Francisco 49ers, for sure.
Okay. Among others?
Do I hazard to say the Houston Texans?
You would be correct if you said the Houston Texans. You want to know why we're talking about that, Sam? Because the Houston Texans have decided to go and claim Brandon Weeden off of waivers.
Brandon who?
Yes.
Brandon Weeden?
The former Oklahoma State quarterback, as it says on his Twitter account, now quarterback for the Houston Texans.
I love that he has to lead with that to make sure people know he's...
Yeah, no, he leads with the Texans.
Oh, he does.
He leads with the Texans. He leads quarterback of the, and then former of Oklahoma State.
Former Big 12 project.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's why he never panned out. They don't have a conference championship game. No, that's irrelevant. Anyway,
ouch.
So he went to Cleveland.
Yes, he did.
Didn't do much. Went to Dallas. Just completely blew up.
Yep.
And now the Texans have claimed Brandon Weeden off of waivers.
There we go.
Now, let's be honest. The Texans have never had a good quarterback.
No,
Never.
It's unfortunate because especially with how long have they been in the league now?
Long enough.
I feel like it's been like barely any time at all and yet forever at the same time.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, they don't have a good amount of people. I mean, they've been in long enough that they should have been just fine
Yep.
to be able to get through with what they've had. I mean, look at who their starting quarterbacks have been. It was David Carr back in 2002 when they first came in. Everybody knows about David Carr. Matt Schaub and Sage Rosenfeld as well, split time for a while. T.J. Yates, Matt Leinart, Case Keenum, Ryan Fitzpatrick, Ryan Mallett, Brian Hoyer, and now Brandon Weeden is on this team as well.
Man,
these are all the list of starting quarterbacks.
I liked Matt Schaub, actually. I really did. He was a good guy.
He was. Matt Schaub is one of the best backup quarterbacks I thought in the league because when he was down in Atlanta, he was one of the guys that's like, oh, even if the quarterback in Atlanta got hurt, they have Matt Schaub, and he'll come in and do crazy things.
Exactly.
But now Matt Schaub is, I think, out of the NFL now.
Yeah.
I think, but
as far as I
he played for several years down in Houston, and they were fairly relevant for a while. But it's just Houston has never had a good quarterback. Now they bring in Brandon Weeden. Matt Schaub technically has the most wins in team history with 46, but he also has 42 losses as well.
There we go.
What are you going to do with that, honestly?
Yeah, there's just not much there. And again, I don't know if Brandon Weeden will be the answer. I would hesitate to anyone that's going to jump on the bandwagon. I don't know if anybody's going to jump on the Houston bandwagon.
They're probably jumping off now that they found they got Brandon Weeden.
Brandon Weeden is the savior of the Houston Texans. I don't see that happening, but it just, again, begs the question, what do the Texans need to do to really turn around their quarterback situation? They've had good running backs in Arian Foster. They have a great wide receiver in DeAndre Hopkins. J.J. Watt is just holding down that defense by himself. They have a lot of good pieces.
It's true. And they're technically in running for first place in the AFC South. They could still make it to the playoffs, and they're 4-5.
That's the sad thing.
That is the incredibly sad thing about this.
Yeah.
So if you're Houston, I mean, you look at this season so far, you've got a negative 27-point differential. They've been outscored 211 to 184 this year. So not awful, but they're also on a 2-game win streak.
There we go.
In their division, they're 2-1, which is only 1 game back of the Texans, the Colts. The only game they've lost to in the division has been to the Colts, rightfully so.
3 more division games to go.
They do. So there's an opportunity for them to still sneak in if they can split a game with the Colts.
Yep.
I just don't know if Houston is ever going to be relevant. If you take away J.J. Watt, this team has zero claim to fame. DeAndre Hopkins sure is decent. He's a great receiver.
Yeah, he's very good.
Andre Johnson was a fantastic receiver for a while as well.
Yes, he was.
Owen Daniels, former Wisconsin Badger product, did a good job, made his name for his career most of his time down in Houston.
Yep.
As you mentioned, even Arian Foster as well was a good product when he was not
Healthy.
injured.
Yeah.
But now I feel like this team is never going to fully reach maximum potential until they bring in a quarterback that is going to not only carry the name and recognition with them, but also start putting up high-caliber stats as well.
Yeah, I think they almost need to look to the draft and say, like, all right, we're going to spend a first-round pick or a second-round pick, invest in a young quarterback, maybe not the most talented guy out there, but a guy that they can bring in, kind of, build their farm system around and just create and to be their franchise quarterback.
Yes. No, I agree with you on that one. I mean, I don't think Brandon Weeden's going to be the guy. Sure, he's not that old, so they have time to maybe work with him and develop him into a better player.
Yeah.
But I'm not sold on what they've got going on for them. I mean, T.J. Yates ended up having to throw the game-winning touchdown. Okay, let's be honest. He just happened to be the guy that had the ball in his hand that threw the ball. He could have been the kicker for all we care, honestly. If you're a Texans fan, it just happened to be the guy that put enough up onto it that allowed Hopkins to go get it. Yep. But yeah, I mean, I understand why the Cowboys cut Weeden. Tony Romo's active again this week, so I'm sure everything is going back to Team Romo.
Yep.
But Brandon Weeden hasn't won a game in his last 11 starts.
Yeah, that's not good. I don't care who you are or where you play. If you go 0-11, something tells me you either are incredibly unlucky or you're struggling.
Yeah, no, I agree. I completely agree with you on that one. I mean, and we have somebody on Periscope saying that they will end up investing in a mobile quarterback, which isn't their scheme, and it will be a bust. Well, I mean, we briefly mentioned this yesterday in passing. I think we should take at least a moment or two to talk about it, Sam, is the just vague idea of Colin Kaepernick in Houston.
Yeah, again, he's one of these guys where mobile quarterbacks, I think apart from Michael Vick, because I still think that if Michael Vick was healthy, he could just tear up any defense if he really wanted to. I think he just has that nature about him. But we've seen in the NFL with kind of that incoming class of quarterbacks and Colin Kaepernick and Russell Wilson and Robert Griffin III, mobile quarterbacks like that can really make a big splash when they first come onto the stage.
Agreed.
Because teams don't know how to defend that. But they really only last about a year or two, and then they really have to become pocket passers or they don't make it. And
Exactly.
That's what we've been seeing.
You only can take so many hits as a mobile quarterback before you start realizing, hey, I'm waking up every morning not being able to feel my legs. I'd kind of like to stop with this.
And defensive coordinators, I mean, they get paid to stop quarterbacks. Like, that's their job.
Exactly.
Mobile quarterbacks can get away with it in college because everyone's all within, 2, 3, 4 years of each other. But when you get into the NFL and you have a rookie quarterback that's mobile, and he's trying to, run a defense that's being, captained by like a 12-year veteran, like, it's only going to go so far.
Oh, exactly. And I completely agree. Cam over on Periscope says that Cam Newton is the only quarterback that is really doing this appropriately right now. I would agree with that. Cam kind of seems to have figured things out.
Yep.
But he's also a bigger quarterback. Look at the other mobile quarterbacks. Colin Kaepernick's not massive.
No.
Russell Wilson is certainly not massive.
Very short, yeah.
Teddy Bridgewater is a tiny little guy.
Yep.
I mean, I feel like Bridgewater is always one of those guys that's left out of the conversation.
Yeah.
Just because he's more of a pocket passer than a runner.
He's developed a lot of poise, which is good.
He has, which is fantastic for a young quarterback. So do we think Colin Kaepernick would be a good fit at Houston? Maybe, but I think Houston is going to end up needing to do what I've been preaching for a long time. They need to trade J.J. Watt away and get either a bunch of draft picks or a high caliber quarterback and some other players to help fill spots on the team.
Exactly.
So, I mean, you can look at it from a few different ways. We'd like to know what you guys think about it. You can find us on Twitter at BG Sports Show. You can also find Sam and I at Baxter Colburn and at Samuel_Wallace2. We're going to take a quick break, but before we do, we want to take a minute to thank one of our sponsors of the BG Sports Show. That would be Student Debt Center. You can call them today to have your student loan payment reduced. You can call 855-401-3508.
That number again is 855-401-3508. Back with more after the break.
Welcome back to the BG Sports Show presented by Sports Radio America. I'm Bax.
And this is Sam.
All right, Sam. Before we roll on and bring in one of our favorite people on the show, we'd like to take a moment to remind everybody that you can find us on a new platform.
What?
You can now listen to the BG Sports Show on Podbean.com.
Download the Podbean app today from your smartphone, or you can go to bgsportshow.podbean.com and catch all the latest news. Again, that's bgsportshow.podbean.com.
It's a lot of bean things.
Yeah, well.
That happens.
Well.
It does. All right, well, it is Thursday on the BG Sports Show, which means we get to welcome in Bleacher Report's David Kenyon to the program to talk about the wonderful wizardly world of the NFL.
Yeah.
Good morning, David. How are you, sir?
Doing pretty well. How about you guys?
Oh, not too bad. We're excited to talk about the NFL with you, sir. Some big games this upcoming weekend, a lot of playoff implications, of course, as we are nearing that time of the year. What games do folks need to be taking a look at this week?
Well, a little bit underrated one, perhaps, but it does get the attention because of Brock Osweiler. But Chicago's on a little bit of a roll here, and a win over Denver, and you might see the Bears actually legitimately in the playoff chase, which is a really weird thing to say, considering where they were. But I mean, 4-5 to 5-5, and Denver needs to be careful. Kansas City's playing pretty well lately, and so that 3-game lead isn't as threatening as it was 2 weeks ago.
Oh yeah, I completely agree with you on that one. I mean, it's one of those things with Denver right now, Sam, and we've talked about Brock Osweiler. We've talked about what that team is capable of doing. I'm a little concerned to see what this team is going to be able to do, though, going forward, especially without Peyton Manning. I mean, I know traditionally you say Peyton Manning, and that's something that folks usually are okay with.
Exactly.
But now that this Broncos team is going to have to go it alone without Peyton Manning, it really kind of it questions whether or not it's actually going to happen or not. But, David, I mean, with Brock Osweiler as the starting quarterback, does Denver have any chance to win this game, you think?
Oh, sure. The Denver defense is what carries the team anyway. And if Alshon Jeffrey's still limited at all, I know he played, but he didn't look like his normal self last week. If he's still limited at all, Denver secondary can just about shut down the receivers. Marcus Ware's absence on the defensive line is a little bit of an issue because the Denver pass rush isn't as threatening as it was earlier in the year. So Chicago does have some chance. I think they're catching Denver at the perfect week.
I'd agree with you on that one. I mean, Chicago is 2 games back out of second place because they've got Green Bay that's 6-3 above them. They've got the Vikings who are 7-2. That's going to be a good game as well for folks to look at. The Packers and Vikings game. It's going to be on prime time. Well, prime time meaning it's going to be in the afternoon, the late afternoon slot for those that love watching a good football game. But let's talk about that game briefly. It's going to be in Minneapolis. First time these two teams have met all year. Do the Packers have their work cut out for them, or is this a game that should be pretty closely contested for both sides?
I don't see how this one gets away from a one-possession game, especially if Minnesota runs the ball well. The thing with Green Bay's defense is earlier in the year it looked better, but as I thought, it was just kind of a good start and nothing more. The regression would happen, and soft zones, bad coverage, injuries, it leads to this, and then you get Minnesota who can pound it on the ground, beat you up front, open up play action, and this is going to be a great game, and I would not be shocked at all if Minnesota wins.
Yeah, I think a lot of folks, including myself and Sam, wouldn't be entirely shocked. I don't know, Sam, what are your thoughts about this game?
If the Vikings can pull it out, David brings up a good point. The Vikings are a team that, again, are catching the Packers at a time right now where their defense hasn't been playing well, and they've given up a lot of yards through the air, but I guess more importantly, Adrian Peterson, like he said, has been pounding the ball up front, and that can make it a long game for the Packers if they can't get their defense off the field.
Yeah, I agree with you on that one. I mean, Aaron Rodgers did not practice yesterday, David. That's one thing that I'm sure Packer Nation is slightly concerned about, but at the same time, I mean, as someone's mentioned here on Periscope, he threw 61 passes on Sunday, so that's going to make anybody's right shoulder semi-sore, I mean, last I checked.
Oh, absolutely. And there's so much pressure on Rodgers right now that a day off was probably a good thing.
Agreed.
I know McCarthy said Rodgers is banged up, which, means absolutely nothing specifically, so we don't know the extent of it, but it's not like Rodgers isn't going to play.
True. Yeah, no, I definitely agree with you on that one. Another game I want to get your opinion on, David. It's the battle of division leaders, the Colts and the Falcons. Both teams in desperate need of a victory to stay on top. Well, they're not. I don't know what I'm talking about. Atlanta's the second team in their division because I always forget Carolina's in that division. However, this is still a big game for Atlanta. And for Indianapolis, they've got Houston now that's tied with them atop the AFC North. Do you have a team in this game that could emerge as a true victor?
I do think Atlanta will win this game, only because Andrew Luck isn't playing. No, he hasn't played that great, but Atlanta's defense can be beaten. And Atlanta, they get Leonard Hankerson back, their number 2 receiver.
Mm-hmm.
Who isn't a very glamorous guy, but Roddy White is terrible.
True.
At this point of his career, and Hankerson was a part of that early season run that the Falcons put together. He takes some pressure off of Julio Jones. Chuck Pagano, Colts coach, had said they're going to try to single cover Julio Jones with Avonte Davis, but Davis hasn't had a tremendous year, so I think Indianapolis' defense is in some trouble this week.
I'd agree with you on that one. What are your thoughts about the Panthers-Redskins game? I know the Redskins only played the Saints last week, but Kirk Cousins looked probably about the best we've ever seen him in the NFL. Do you have a thought that maybe this is a game that Washington can go into Carolina and pull off an upset in this game?
No, I don't really think that at all. Cousins last week, the Saints defense, they fired their coordinator for a reason. That's such a terrible defense, and Cousins is not going to do that against one of the best defenses in the entire league. If you look at Kirk Cousins' game log, the interceptions and stuff, it's not a perfect measurement.
No.
In his 5 losses, he's thrown an interception in each game.
Yeah, no, that's not exactly something that you want.
When Washington has won, he hasn't thrown an interception.
So
he's going to throw an interception on Sunday.
I'd agree with you on that one. So a big game, Sam, that I think that we need to make mention of is the Bengals-Cardinals game on Sunday Night Football. Let me get your thoughts about that first, Sam, before we ask David.
I think the way the Cardinals are playing right now, it's in Arizona in prime time. The Bengals are coming off a tough loss. I know a lot of people were talking about how they potentially were looking past the Texans in that game as probably an easier game on their schedule, and we're more focused on the Cardinals game. And I think the Cardinals, the way they're playing right now, I wouldn't be shocked if they really stick it to the Bengals.
Mm-hmm. I'd agree with you on that one. This is a game that if you are the Cardinals, I saw them go out and just absolutely manhandle the Seahawks defense in the first half of that last week's game. David, what are your thoughts about this Arizona offense up against what we thought was a really good Bengals team, but Houston found a way to win that game?
Well, I heard something. Eric Davis, he's an NFL Network analyst. He said the only thing tougher in this league than going 16-0 is going 0-16. It's a bad loss from Cincinnati, but they're 8-1. We don't have to panic about that. With that being said, Arizona is really, really, really good.
They really are. Really, really.
Really good. And so I think Arizona does win at home. Big boost there. Carson Palmer's got his emotional edge. He admitted this isn't just another game. After spending 7 years in Cincinnati, he's going to be ready to play.
Mm-hmm.
Arizona's going to be ready to go. The defense is just so much better. Cincinnati struggles on the road. Dalton struggles on the road against a good defense, like any quarterback does.
I'd agree with you on that one. Yeah. So are there other storylines this week that we need to keep an eye on? I know folks are going to probably be honing in on the Arizona-Cincinnati game. I'm sure they'll be talking about the Packers-Vikings game as well. Are there any other underlying storylines or things that people should be talking about this week?
Tony Romo's return. If Dallas loses this game, you can officially cross them out from the playoff picture. But hey, if they won 7 in a row, they might win the East.
That is true with the way the East has looked right now.
Yeah, exactly. But likewise, in that game, the Miami Dolphins have crawled their way back into the picture, but they're 1 game back, minus tiebreakers. So they need to make up 2 games, and you fall behind right now. The Bills win, then you're 3 games behind technically, and that could spell disaster for their season.
That is true. Yeah, I completely agree with you on that one. All right. Well, David, we appreciate your insight, sir, as you always do here on the BG Sports Show. Where can people find your work, sir?
You can find me on Bleacher Report. You can find me on Sportsnaut, and also Upside and Motor. And you can find me on Twitter at Kenyon19_BR, KENYON 19_BR.
Fantastic. All right, David Kenyon, sir. Always a pleasure. Enjoy your weekend. Good luck to your fantasy team, and have a good one, sir.
Thank you.
All right, David Kenyon, a good friend of the show from Bleacher Report. Always love chatting with him. Sam, what a great guy. Very knowledgeable.
Full of great knowledge.
He is. It's why we love bringing him on the BG Sports Show. Hey, Sam, do you like playing fantasy sports?
I do like playing fantasy
sports. You do? Well, if you, like Sam and I, enjoy playing fantasy sports, you should join us on DraftFury.com this week. That's DraftFury.com. You can come on over here and sign up today for free and have your first deposit matched up to $1,000 when you use the promo code BAX. That's BAX on DraftFury.com.
Join us as we host an NFL Pick'em game this week. You can find all the details on our Facebook page at the BG Sports Show or on DraftFury.com.
Welcome back to the BG Sports Show, presented by Sports Radio America. I'm Bax.
And this is Sam.
Just a reminder for all of you wonderful social media savants out there, if you like the BG Sports Show, you should go like the BG Sports Show on Facebook. I see what I did there, Sam?
You should.
I should.
You should go like it.
You should also follow us.
Ooh.
Not around, because
that's weird.
That's
creepy.
Weird. Sam's got a girlfriend. I got a wife. People are going to get suspicious. We don't want them coming after you guys.
No.
But you can follow us on Instagram and on Twitter as well at BG Sports Show.
Yeah, you can find news, articles, videos, pictures, and more every day. If you want to follow us on Twitter, we are at Baxter Colbert and at Samuel_Wallace2.
Yes, indeed. All right, Sam. Well, an interesting debate that I want to spark up with you here, sir.
Yeah.
For those that follow the NFL and follow sports in general, you like to buy your apparel of your favorite team. You like to, make sure that you represent your team to the fullest extent when you're out in the open.
Yeah, absolutely.
But sometimes folks can be a little blind by how good or bad their team is based off of what the color of the jersey is.
It's true.
But one of the things that's swirling around right now on a debate circle, one of the things that I've seen as an article that was written recently that I wrote on sidelines.com is whether or not the color and look of a team's jersey affects the popularity of the team.
Are you asking me?
I'm stating it / glancing at you to see if you have a comment initially before I officially ask the question. So
I mean, well, I'm like 75% colorblind, so
that is true. So how was that Bills-Jets game for you?
it was rough. It was really rough. Not gonna lie.
Oh man, that's terrible.
No, I mean, I think there's a lot of truth in it. I mean, to divert away from the NFL for a moment, there are some uniforms that I see in whether it be college football or other sports like that. Excuse me, and I'm just like, those are some really cool looking uniforms. Like
True.
those are pretty sick.
I mean, you can only make so many different shades of gray and white and black after
I
a
know.
long time.
Knock it off.
Sorry.
No, it's cool. But I mean, like, I know a jersey that I always found kind of cool. I think the Oregon Ducks do a really cool job of making just some pretty awesome uniforms.
When you've got Nike in your backyard, you can do just about
when you got
anything
Nike in your
want, so.
backyard and you've got just a ton of money, more than anybody probably ever has in their entire life, you can do a lot of cool things like that. But I think there's a lot of truth to that, like I said. Cool uniforms definitely help, especially for the casual fan.
True.
If you're a fan of a team and their jerseys just are pretty ugly, I mean, you're still going to be a proud supporter of the team, but you might not wear that jersey, out with your friends, kind of a thing. Yeah. So I don't know. What are your thoughts?
Well, it's one of those things I feel like that the color and the overall look of a jersey, I really do feel make or break a lot of fan bases, because how many folks could really, truly know everybody that was on Seattle pre-2012?
I know you and I were talking about that off the air, and we both were able to name two.
Yeah.
Matt Hasselbeck and Sean Alexander.
Exactly. I felt like I knew more folks. I'm trying to think of one of the wide receivers, but
I know.
when's the last time Seattle had a good wide receiver? Let's be honest.
This is a little sad, not going to lie, but
It is.
it's okay.
It is. But realistically, though, when the Seahawks came out with their new rave green and their new color scheme, so many people flocked to the Seahawks as supporters, quote unquote supporters, because of the new colorful jerseys, because that was the thing to wear.
It was.
You see that with all kinds of fashion trendy things. It's like, oh, they've got some cool jerseys, or they've got this cool new outfit, women with the scarves and the shirts and whatever. They're going to be jumping all over that to wear it. But in this regards, though, I just feel like so many people jumped on Seattle's bandwagon right away purely because they had a cool-looking jersey. And it's like, oh, they play football. Oh, they're doing well. Oh, I'm a Seahawks fan. Woo, look at me. I've had a Marshawn Lynch jersey all this time. I'm obviously a fan.
Yeah, no kidding. It's one of those things where the Seahawks, they are a fun team to be like a bandwagon fan of.
True.
They're very exciting. They have a lot of young players, a young, energetic coach. I shouldn't say Pete Carroll's young. He's got a very energetic coach who's jumping up and down on the sidelines.
True.
They just kind of have that dynamic that makes them exciting for a very casual football fan. Like, you really can't deny that, I don't think.
No, I don't think anybody can really deny that. I mean, but realistically, though, if you were to, and I had this conversation last night on a soccer show that I host here on Sports Radio America, which is funny because we talked about football for like the first 10 minutes of the show.
There we go.
Anyway, I was co-hosting the show with two guys from Seattle, and I said, okay, guys, I need to know what your thoughts are about this as well.
Yep.
And they said that they're honestly sick and tired of the bandwagon Seahawk fans. They said that they kind of make fun of people by saying 12 since 12, or the 12th man since 12, because that's when it all started to begin. These guys, they're not that old, but they have been Seahawk fans since they were 4 and 5. But really, realistically, though, I mean, you guys gotta know when to stop. You got to know when to just really stop and really think about what makes the most sense for an organization. I just feel like the jerseys of a team do help. I mean, you see them more than anything. You see their helmets. It is. It's beautiful marketing. You obviously know that Nike or Adidas makes the jersey, but I just feel like what a team's jersey looks like overdoes, I think, the amount of support that people get sometimes, which is fine.
It definitely does.
I mean, look at teams like, and this might just be irony, this might just be pure coincidence. Look at teams like the Cleveland Browns, the Detroit Lions, and the Chicago Bears.
Yeah.
Do any of those jerseys stand out to you as being awesome color choices or fantastic designs?
No, not really.
And all three of those teams,
look at that,
have never been that great. They've never had...
It's the curse of the jersey.
It really is. They've had poor performances on and off the field. Their organization heads and players have never done anything fantastic. Detroit just cleaned house, basically. I'm pretty sure the janitor is the new president of the team.
He might be.
He probably is.
He should be.
But then you can flip it around.
Yeah.
Look at teams like the Yankees, the Packers, the Chicago Bulls, kept the same jerseys for years,
And it's one of those things,
but it
too,
never affects who they are.
It's just like you get like those iconic jerseys, like the
Exactly.
Yankees, like especially for baseball. The Yankees had their pinstripe uniforms. They've been so good for so long. They've won like 20 World Series titles, something crazy like that.
Mhm.
But yeah,
I'd agree with you. I mean, it's interesting, too, because in the soccer world, they get new jerseys every year. Every single year, the team usually gets, maybe the longest you will go is 2 years
Yeah.
as a team. But 9 times out of 10, you get at least one new jersey, whether it's home or away or an
Yep.
alternate. You get at least one new jersey every year because you have to keep the fans engaged. You have to keep,
yeah,
sponsors happy, which is fine. But it's one of those things where it's like, oh, you bought the 2013 version of the,
Yeah.
United States men's national team jersey. Oh, that's cute. We're on 2016's jersey already at
yeah.
this
it's-
point.
Yeah, I don't know
So, I mean, does it deter you as a fan, Sam?
which aspect of it.
What the jersey looks like? Does it hinder you from being a true supporter of a team?
I think not currently because the teams that I support, I'm pretty entrenched as being supportive right now. I mean, I don't see the Green Bay Packers coming out with, although I'm not a big fan of their throwback uniforms that they bring out of the Acme Packer
The
uniforms.
1880s ones with the little top hats.
Yeah, nah. I don't know, not a fan. They're cool. It's kind of nostalgic when they bring them out, and
I've just never been a fan of them.
yeah, I don't know, I'm with you there. But as far as I don't know, like if I were ever to like branch out into a new sport that I'm not really supportive of right now, I'll admit I'm not a big soccer fan. If I were looking for a soccer team to support, not knowing where to start, yeah, would I look at jerseys? Maybe. Would I look for a couple of guys that I think I might recognize? Maybe.
Sure.
I'm sure there's going to be a lot of factors that go into that.
That's what a lot of folks do, I feel like. Now, I've seen 2 different renderings for Packer jerseys. I've seen, I mean, no one can really see it, unfortunately, but I'll show this one to Sam. I mean,
Yeah.
this is like a mock-up of the old jersey, but I've also seen, and maybe some of other folks have seen this as well, swirling around, of a Nike jersey as well. There's
Yep.
5, it almost looks like Oregon,
It
basically.
does, yeah.
But it's one of those jerseys that you look at it, you're like, whoa. Like,
Those-
I just feel like that's outside of the Green Bay norm, and maybe that's what it is that some teams don't care about the
Yeah.
flashiness. Aaron Rodgers puts on the jersey. He doesn't matter if it's a white T-shirt or if it's that green jersey that that they put on. He just wants to play the game. He doesn't care
Exactly.
what the jersey is that he looks like and when he's wearing it.
It's true.
So, I mean, realistically, I think that the color choices, they all define the teams as a whole. I mean, the Cleveland Browns, let's be honest, it's orange.
Come on.
It's orange.
They should
they're
have, they should have brown jerseys.
They really should. Yeah.
Just saying. I mean, if they're gonna stay consistent,
Honestly, I mean, come on, guys, thinking about it. The Detroit Lions, I think they could do some cool things with the color schemes that they have. Same with the Bears, that like dark blue with that orange
Yeah.
accent, I think could be done really well. But that's why, they're not doing well. Now, I don't know if that's really why they're not doing well, but it is interesting to think about, though, how a team's jersey looks can affect the amount of support and fan base
Yeah.
for a team. So, just our thoughts. Let us know your thoughts as well. You can get us on Twitter at the BG Sports Show. Wow, I'm so sorry. I talked about my other show, and now here I am.
shameless plug.
God, I'm so sorry.
You might as
can-
well just let them know where to find you on 2 Up Front too.
Well, it's at Baxter Colburn, but it's 2 Up Front Soccer is the other one. Anyway, I'm so sorry, Sam. I feel like I need to leave.
that's all right.
You want me to leave? I can go.
Now we're good. We're
I
good.
can go. I don't want to cause any issues, Make it seem like I'm thinking about somebody else when I'm here with you.
All right. Well, let's awkwardly segue into a break now.
Perfect.
All right.
We'll be back after this. Welcome back to the BG Sports Show presented by Sports Radio America. I'm Bax.
And this is Sam.
Quick reminder for all of you wonderful folks out there that if you love listening to the BG Sports Show, that you can now support the BG Sports Show as well. If you'd like to do that, if you'd like to become a financial supporter of the show, there's a few different ways that you can do that.
You can find out how on our website, which is thebgsportshow.podbean.com. Click on Become a Patron button at the top right corner, and thank you for your future support of our show.
Absolutely. Well, it is Thursday, which means it's Friday, which means it's Thursday, which means it's time for Sam, which Sam has his Running 101 segment here on the BG Sports Show. So, Sam, the floor is yours. I do want to ask you right away, though, as you mentioned last week, it was your grand finale in the racing world.
It was.
How did it all go for you, sir?
It went really well.
Did it?
It was fun. It was the second fastest time for that distance I'd ever run in my career, so that made it a lot of fun.
That's good.
Got to go out there with my team one more time.
Towed the line, as it were.
Got to toe the line and go out there and leave it all out on the course, and it was a fun weekend. It really was.
Were you emotional after the fact?
I wasn't until we got back to campus. Oddly enough, like I was fine the whole day. The bus ride back was fun, hanging out with the team, and then we got back and we're hanging out over in our athletic facility, and our coach is like, "All right, before everybody go, I want you guys, to all go around and shake the hands of the seniors and thank them all for their leadership and their years of service." And I was like, Coach.
Nice.
And that's what it hit me. So I'll admit I got a little emotional at that point, but it was fun.
You need a tissue?
No, I'm good.
Okay.
I'm good.
All right. Well, what do you got this week then for us, Sam, on your Running
Actually,
101
it's
segment?
kind of for that time of the year. Well, I mean, for those who are still competing or have the national meet this weekend, but otherwise after this, there's a lot of postseason myths that go around in the realm of running.
Okay.
And a lot of these myths revolve around it's postseason. You need to let your body recover, take some time off, scale back the miles. Obviously, you're not going to continue the pace that you were running in the up-tempo.
26 miles a day, isn't that what you tell us to do?
Yeah, I wish. That'd be awesome. If I had time for that.
Have you ever run a marathon?
I have not.
Half marathon?
Couple of those, yep.
Okay.
Well, I do those kind of now just like during practice, oddly enough. So
okay.
It's one of those things where 13-mile long runs are just kind of what I do now. But anyways, so a lot of the postseason myths revolve around facts that a lot of coaches and athletes say to take some downtime, and a lot of people say to take, a week to 2 weeks of just nothing. 2 weeks, let the body recover, let the body rest, catch up on some sleep, catch up on some nutrition, maybe address some nagging injuries and things like that. But I'm going to stand here and say that it is my opinion, and I've talked to a lot of other athletes and highly respected coaches in the area that say the 2 week off myth is growing to be less and less of a reality for a lot of people, because
Interesting.
The fact is you take 2 weeks off after the season, that's great. It'll take at least 2 weeks then to get back to where you were probably in your mid-season form.
Mm-hmm.
And then maybe another week after that to kind of get back to where you were in your peak condition. So you're looking at 5 weeks.
Shoot.
That's over a month. When you say 5 weeks, it's like, oh, yeah, it's only 5 weeks. But you look at a calendar year, 12 months, you're losing over 1/12 of that. You're just basically throwing it out the window.
Okay.
If you are actually hurt and you need the downtime, by all means take it. But if you finish the season and you're healthy, there's no reason why you shouldn't take a couple days off. I took 3 days off this week, and that was actually the first time I've taken that many days off in a row since like June maybe.
Wow, okay.
Of 3 days off of just nothing. And I was getting super antsy, sitting at home. Leg was bouncing. I'm like, I got to go do something. Like, I'm not used to sitting around this much, so I went and got in a good workout yesterday. But looking right now is I still have a potential indoor season that I can use, and I'm feeling healthy right now, and I'm not hurt, so I don't want to take 2 full weeks off, as nice as that would be.
Sure.
And then spend the next couple weeks trying to get back into shape, per se. Not that I'll be out of shape, but I won't be where I was. And then just like that, that's over a month that I've just sucked away.
And that's very difficult because, as you mentioned, it's one of those situations you're like, well, I could keep going, with my weekly routine to stay in shape, but at the same time, you do want to let your body rest and recover a little bit as well. So what's a good balance then? Is it like running Monday, Wednesday, Friday, rest Tuesday, Thursday?
A good balance is, I went from running 7 days a week to now I'll probably scale it back to about 3 or 4. And again, I'm not really doing any workouts at this time. I'm just doing miles, just general miles. Anywhere from a half hour to an hour, just easy running, just keeping the body moving, just keeping the body in that consistent progression of running. So when you as like we like to say, when you get back on the horse and you start to pound those workouts again, that your body can handle it and you haven't gone from nothing to suddenly trying to ramp your workouts back up again.
That makes sense. I've definitely done that mistakenly with soccer and football before too, where it's like, oh, I haven't played in a few days or in a few weeks, but I've played for years. I should be fine to just jump out there
Yep.
and play a full game of soccer. And after 10 minutes, I'm on my knees, just like, good God, like what have I done?
What am I doing to myself?
Yeah. No, it happens, I feel like, and you have to steadily progress into it, playing small-sided games, working on getting your fitness back.
Exactly.
But if you can actually get into a nice routine where you can stay, fairly active on a
Yeah.
weekly basis, I think that'll definitely help you. Not only once you're done with running, I mean, once the school year is over, I mean, you're still going to run. You're still going to
yeah.
do different.
Absolutely.
You're still going to go run different, 5Ks and maybe even get to that marathon. or
Marathon
something.
level at some point, yeah.
At some level, but it's one of those things where you're like, well, if you really have a passion about it, you're going to keep doing it.
Exactly.
Which is fantastic. Well, great, Sam. Well, I appreciate it. Now, I'm wondering, with your running season and your running tips coming to a close, what your next tips will be.
I don't know.
I don't know.
We'll have to wait and see. Maybe I can, bring some new dynamic
Bring
into
some
the
new
show.
dynamics, some other tips, just life tips.
We'll see. Yeah.
How to be a straight gentleman.
Life tips by Sam.
I like that.
We'll see.
I'll have
We'll
to-
see what happens.
Yeah, or sports tips or
Something.
something. We'll figure it out. All right. Well, we're going to go to a break. When we come back, Connor Christensen is here to talk about fitness, but we'll make sure to talk about Ronda at least a little bit because some news came out about Ronda the other day that I want to get his opinion on. So we'll talk about that with Connor when we come back. We'll be back with more on the BG Sports Show right after this. Welcome back to the BG Sports Show, presented by Sports Radio America. I'm Bax.
And I'm Connor.
Good morning, Connor. How are you, sir?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm excited to chat with you. Normally, we have you do your fight corner on Thursdays, but we had you talk about it on Monday.
Mm-hmm.
But there's been some new developments as well in the
Yeah.
fight world regarding to Ronda Rousey, so I want to ask you about that right away.
Yeah, so Ronda has been put on medical suspension for, 6 months?
Yes, 180 days.
Yeah, 6 months. So what that means is she's not allowed to really do high-impact training. She's not allowed to obviously fight anyone for 6 months unless a CT scan shows no damage. At what point they're going to perform the first CT scan, I'm not entirely sure. We'll be hearing about it in a couple months.
Sure.
So, I mean, it just goes to show how much of a beatdown Holly Holm put on her. That kick to the head was devastating.
Absolutely.
So it didn't surprise me at all that Ronda's been put on medical suspension, and she had already said that she was going to take time off anyway. So I think now it's just forced time out.
Agreed.
As
Yeah.
opposed to voluntary.
Yeah, we're seeing a few different reports here saying that she can't fight for 6 months. We're also seeing that Joanna Jędrzejczyk as well has also been issued mandatory 6-month medical suspension as well.
She broke her hand during her fight, which just shows how tough she is.
No kidding.
She won her fight with a broken hand.
What a boss. What a boss.
Seriously.
I'm seeing rumors from New England Sports Network that Ronda's going to have to get plastic surgery after the loss as well.
On her lip, because Holly Holm... I can't remember exactly what part of the fight it was. It could have been any one of the punches to the face, but it also could have been the 2 hammer fists after Ronda was already knocked out cold.
Okay, it's interesting because she did not sustain a concussion.
Yeah,
that's the crazy part about it.
You would think that that you would get a concussion from all of the punishment that she took.
I probably would have.
I would think most
She's made
normal
us some
people
tougher
would
stuff
have.
than both of us, though. I feel
concussions are tricky because it's when the brain moves around inside the skull and hits the skull and disrupts blood vessels.
True.
Right, so that's what a concussion is. How easily or not easily some people get concussions is solely up to that person's body and their physiology. So
very, very true.
Yeah.
I'm curious to get your thoughts about this as well. Jose Aldo says that he thinks Ronda Rousey will never fight again. Do you agree with that?
No, I don't. And I mean, so Aldo comes out and says this, and Floyd Mayweather comes out and says Ronda's going to bounce back right away.
Floyd just needs to stop talking.
Well, and this time he's supporting Ronda.
It's true, which is nice, but Floyd as a whole, I just can't deal with him.
There are a lot of high-level athletes that'll go either way.
It's true.
And when it comes right down to it, it's up to what Ronda thinks. And right now, there was a video leaked by TMZ that of her getting off an airplane, and she had her face buried in her pillow, and she couldn't talk to anyone. And it was not Ronda. It was not the Ronda that we were used to seeing. So
it's true.
She obviously has taken some mental beatdown as well as a physical beatdown. She was unstoppable on top of the world, and now she's no longer the champ. She has to get surgery.
She's immortal
She's
again.
on suspension. All of these things that are happening to her that she probably was not expecting would happen to her.
That is true.
So, she'll bounce back. It'll take some time, but I think she'll bounce back.
Fair enough. Okay. Now, you said you had some other news and interesting tidbits to share with us as well.
Was that
the story? Okay.
Yeah,
I wouldn't know. So, now, I guess one other thing before we get to your fitness tip as well. If this is, hypothetically, if this is the end for Ronda Rousey, what type of legacy does she leave on the UFC world?
I think... Ooh, that's it's a good question, Baxter.
Thank you.
If I was, going to be a UFC fan 10 years from now, and I was going to look back and hear about Ronda Rousey, what would I think of her? I would think that she was a good fighter that got exposed as being a not good fighter, and then someone who gave up right away.
Interesting.
That would be how, if I was brand new to the sport, that's how I personally would probably view it.
It'd be like, you would hear about Ronda. You'd be like, oh, Ronda Rousey, okay, yeah. And then you'd be like, oh, well, why'd she stop? She lost one fight. What the heck?
And, if I myself now met a fan later that thought that way, I would quickly pull them aside and be like, no, Ronda was actually a really, really good fighter. She just couldn't bounce back after this traumatic loss that she suffered. So, I think the legacy that she puts behind for people nowadays is that she had phenomenal potential.
True.
And we never actually got to see her utilize that potential. There was Miesha Tate gave her the 2 best fights of her life other than Holly Holm.
True.
So, we saw glimpses of it where she was actually had to be a fighter for longer than just...
Yep.
What was it? Did they make it into the 5th round? I think they made it in the 5th round. I can't remember off the top of my head. But we saw her be a fighter for prolonged amounts of time during her fights with Miesha Tate. But other than that, they didn't. None of her fights lasted very long. So it's kind of tricky. She has a lot of potential, but we've never seen her use it. I think the legacy that she would leave behind would be one who was done before her time. Type of thing.
That would be hard. Yeah, that would be very hard for the sport of women's UFC, I feel like, as a whole. It's one of those things where you hear about a great up-and-coming player in any sport, and they get a devastating injury that, ends their career way too early, And we don't want to see that for the sport. I think Ronda makes the sport better. She makes up-and-comers want to be at her level. But she also has plenty of fallbacks as well if she decides
Yeah,
not to do fighting.
that's
She's
true.
very personable. People love her. She's super funny. She's been in movies. She's very, very pretty. We've seen her with her modeling that she's done as well. So it's not like if this is the end of her fighting career that she's going to have no source of income after this, basically.
Yeah. And I mean, I think that don't expect any of those other things to stop. Like
No.
she's going to continue to do those things as long as people continue to want her to do those things. And because I think you're right, she's very personable. I feel like part of her personality is doing things like that. I don't think that she would be okay with not doing things like that. But like I've been saying, I don't think that her fight career is done yet.
Agreed.
And even if she as a fighter is done, I could see her going back to judo. Or I could see her being a coach. Or,
Is this someone we could maybe
something
see
like
on the Olympics team for some of the fighting competitions? Because she did fight in there. when
She did in the 2008 Olympics in Beijing. She won bronze for judo. I definitely. I'm not familiar off the top of my head when the next.
The Summer Olympics are next summer
Next
in
summer.
Brazil.
Okay.
So I don't know what it would take for her to get to that level, especially with her
Wow.
medical leave and setback at the moment.
So next year's a little soon. Maybe not, and then at that point it'll be another 4 years.
Fair enough.
So maybe, but I don't know. That would take a lot.
That's true.
That would take a lot
That
for her
is
to
very
get
true.
in next year's Olympics.
Fair enough. All right, well, Connor, with a little bit of time left here on the show, why don't you give us your fitness tip that you were supposed to give us back on Monday, sir?
Okay, I would be happy to. All right, so fitness tip today. I ran a 5K 2 weeks ago. Well, I ran a 5K with a friend of mine for I forget exactly what the cause was, but it was through my old college, Wisconsin Lutheran College, and a friend of mine saw me doing some static stretching before the race, and he quickly flocked to me and told me how terrible it was and how I was going to.
Oh, really?
He was telling me that I shouldn't be doing that, and I looked
Some
at
friend.
I looked at him and I said, well, first of all, so this is my fitness tip. How do you prepare? How do you, the whole debate is static versus dynamic stretching. So static stretching is when you are stretching something and there is no movement. There is no, you're not constantly moving while you're doing the stretch. An example of a dynamic stretch would be doing arm circles.
Sure.
These types of things. That's that movement in the joint constantly for the stretch. And a static stretch would be like trying to touch your toes. That would be a static stretch. So he saw me doing some static stretching, told me it was bad because there has been some science out there about how when you do static stretching beforehand, you're more likely to pull something.
Sure.
And I was in a study my senior year of college. A friend of mine was doing the study, and you were also in that study.
That's true, I was.
And it was the debate, static versus dynamic, and I was one of the only people that did better with static. I went against what they thought. So static works very well for me, doing static stretches.
Sure.
That is, let me clarify here. We, in that study, always ran half a mile first.
Yep.
And then we would do the different static or dynamic. And that's because when you do any form of athletic exercise, you have to make sure that you at least warm up the body. So yes, if I went straight into static stretches without doing any sort of like jogging for a while, that's why during soccer practice you always run a couple laps first.
Yep.
Or in track you always run a couple laps first, or whatever sport. And so I jogged around for a bit before this 5K. I jogged around for probably about 2 minutes, and then I came back and did my static stretching.
Okay.
Because if you just jump right into the static stretch, you could potentially pull something. But if you jumped right into the dynamic stretch, you could also pull something. It all depends on how you're performing the stretches.
Okay.
Because
So there's a technique that goes into it.
absolutely. For me, when I'm doing a static stretch, I'm not stretching to the point of like, if I would stretch at nighttime right before I'd go to bed, that's not the same level of stretching I would do in the morning.
True.
Because my muscles are very cold in the morning because I was just sleeping, so they weren't being used.
That makes sense.
So when you're doing a static stretch before an exercise, you have to be aware of. It's kind of knowing your own body. It's knowing how far you can push yourself before you kind of reach that breaking point. So while I do say that scientifically dynamic stretching has been proven to be better for most athletes, it's all about how you do it and how you push yourself, and you have to know your own body going into it.
Okay.
So always make sure to at least jog for a little bit beforehand. But then, either way, as long as you're doing the right technique, you should be fine.
Fantastic. All right. Well, Connor, thank you very much for stopping by to give us an extended Fight Corner from continuing on with Monday and for your fitness tip as well, sir.
No problem.
All right. We'll talk to you back on Monday again, sir. All right. Well, we're going to wrap things up here on the BG Sports Show. It's been another exciting edition. Quick reminder for all of you, there is no BG Sports Show tomorrow. I will be on my way to Baltimore, and Sam has some other previous obligations as well, so you will have to just wait until Monday. I know. I'm sorry, but you're going to have to wait. I might do a Periscope broadcast or something just for the heck of it. But either way, you can get us, though, traditionally Monday through Friday from 7 to 8 a.m. Central live right here on Spreaker.com and on Periscope as well. You can also find our content on Sports Radio America from 11 to 1 p.m. Central Time and on demand anytime you want on Podbean, on iHeartRadio, iTunes, and on Spreaker.com as well. You can follow the show on social media, on Facebook. You can find us at the BG Sports Show. You can also find us on Twitter at BG Sports Show and on Instagram as well at BG Sports Show. You can follow myself at Baxter Colburn and at Samuel_Wallace2. Special thanks to Bleacher Report's David Kenyon and for Connor Christensen for joining us on the broadcast today. We'll see you all again on Monday. Enjoy your weekend.